The alarm clock hit 9:12 a.m. 7 trauma patients arrived within minutes of each other. Internal bleeding, chest wounds, one patient already crashing. The surgeon still stuck in traffic. And standing there, frozen between protocol and panic, was Ava, a rookie nurse in her early 30s. Monitors screamed, doctors argued. No one wanted to make the call. Ava did. She moved before anyone stopped her. Hands steady, orders clear, no hesitation. One patient stabilized, then another, then another. 7 lives saved in 1 hour. By the time the surgeon finally rushed in, every monitor in the trauma bay was steady. That should have been the end of it. Instead, the hospital doors opened again. 2 men in dark suits stepped into the air, calm, deliberate. They stopped at the nurse's station and opened their wallets. FBI. They weren't there for the patients. They were there because Ava's name had just been flagged. And whatever they were about to uncover would make saving 7 lives look like the easy part. Stay with me. Before we begin, take 1 second to comment, "I'm watching," and hit subscribe. It tells the algorithm you want more stories about the heroes nobody sees coming. The EF clock read 9:12 a.m., and the trauma bay was already drowning. Sirens echoed outside like a warning that came too late. Stretchers rolled in back to back, wheels rattling over the floor as paramedics shouted vitals over one another. Blood, shrapnel, crushed ribs. A multi-vehicle collision on the interstate had detonated into 7 critical patients in less than 5 minutes, and the surgeon still wasn't there. "Where the hell is Dr. Clean?" Someone yelled, "Traffic." Another voice snapped back, "Pile up near the bridge." He stuck. That single sentence landed heavier than any diagnosis because 7 lives didn't have time for traffic. Ava stood just inside the trauma bay doors. Blue scrubs slightly wrinkled, blonde hair pulled back tight, hands already gloved. She was supposed to be support monitor checks, for prep, documentation. That was the lane for a rookie nurse barely a year into hospital work. But nothing about this moment stayed in its lane. The first patient came in with a collapsed lung and internal bleeding so severe the gurney was slit beneath the sheets. The second was unconscious, pulse thready, oxygen crashing. The third was already coding as they crossed the threshold. Voices collided, orders contradicted. Protocols stacked on top of each other until no one moved. Ava watched all of it for half a second. Then she stepped forward. "Trauma 1 is mine," she said, voice calm, cutting clean through the noise. A resident turned toward her. "What?" "Chest decompression." "Now he's not making it to imaging." "That's not I know." Ava interrupted, already reaching for the kit. "But if we wait, he dies." No one gave permission. She didn't look for it. Her hands moved with a certainty that didn't match her title. Needle in. Pressure released. Air hissed. The patient's oxygen climbed just enough to buy seconds. Seconds were everything. Another stretcher slammed in. Massive abdominal trauma, blood pressure unreadable, or prep, someone asked. "No time," Ava said. "Clamp and transfuse here." A senior nurse stared at her. "You're calling that?" Ava didn't look up. "I'm calling life support." Something shifted in the room then. Not trust, not agreement. Something closer to instinct. People started moving around her instead of through her. The third patient flatlined. Ava was already there. "Clear," she ordered, hands steady as the paddles came down. Once, twice, a beat, then another. The monitor chirped back to life. That should have been the moment someone stopped her. Instead, it was the moment they didn't. By 9:24 a.m., 3 patients were alive who shouldn't have been. By 9:31, it was 5. Ava moved between beds like she'd memorized the room. She didn't ask where things were, she reached. She didn't hesitate over decisions that took others minutes to debate. She saw patterns before vitals confirmed them. She treated causes, not symptoms. A doctor whispered under his breath, "How does she know that?" No one answered. Patient 6 arrived, barely breathing. Chest trauma compounded by a head injury. Standard protocol would have sent him straight to imaging. Eva shook her head. "If we move him, we lose him." That's not hospital procedure, a resident protested. Ava met his eyes for the first time. There was no panic there, no ego, just clarity. Neither is dying on the table, she said. Pick. They stayed. She stabilized him. 6. The trauma bay fell into a rhythm that didn't make sense on paper. Control chaos. Orders landing before questions formed. Hands moving without explanation because explanation would have wasted time. By 10:03 a.m., the 7th patient was wheeled in. This one was bad. Multiple fractures, internal bleeding, airway compromised. The kind of case where even experienced surgeons paused. Ava didn't. She assessed once, twice, then acted. Someone muttered, "She's not even looking at the chart." Ava heard it. "Because the chart is behind the injury," she replied, voice still even. Focus. The last monitor steadied. 7. 7 green lines where there should have been body bags. The doors burst open seconds later. Dr. Clean finally arrived, hair disheveled, coat half won, breath sharp. He took in the room, the stabilized patients, the staff frozen between relief and disbelief. "What did I miss?" he asked. No one answered right away. Then someone said quietly, "Everything." Klein looked at Ava. She stood off to the side now, hands resting on the counter, blood on her sleeves that wasn't hers. She looked exactly like what she was supposed to be, a rookie nurse. Except nothing about the last hour fit that story. Klein opened his mouth to speak. That's when the automatic doors at the end of the hall slid open again. Not for stretchers, not for family. 2 men walked in wearing dark suits that didn't belong in an AR. They moved with purpose, but without urgency, eyes scanning the room like they were reading a map only they could see. They stopped at the nurse's station. Leather wallets opened. Badges flashed. "FBI," one of them said calmly. "We're looking for Ava." Every sound in the trauma bay died at once. Ava lifted her head, and for the first time since 9:12 a.m., her hands went still. The word FBI didn't echo. It didn't need to. It landed in the trauma bay like a weight dropped in water, rippling outward until every voice, every monitor beep, every footstep seemed too loud. 7 patients lay stabilized behind curtains. 7 lives hanging in the balance because of decisions that should never have been made by a rookie nurse. And now 2 men in dark suits were standing at the nurse's station, eyes fixed on Ava like they already knew the answer to questions no one else had thought to ask. Dr. Klein was the first to react. "This is a hospital," he said sharply. "If you're here about an incident, it can wait." "We're still it can't," the taller agent replied calmly, flashing his badge again, slower this time. "We just need to speak with her." "With her," the charge nurse repeated incredulous. "She just saved." "I know," the agent said. His eyes never left Ava. "That's why we're here." Ava felt the room tighten around her. She'd learned long ago how to stand still when intention turned dangerous. She stepped forward before anyone could speak for her. "I'm Ava," she said evenly. "What's this about?" The second agent glanced at a tablet in his hand. "We need a quiet room." Dr. Klein bristled. "She's not going anywhere. Not without she's not under arrest." The first agent said, "Not yet." That single phrase sucked the oxygen out of the hallway. Ava didn't ask questions. She nodded once and followed them down the corridor, the sound of the trauma bay fading behind her like something closing. They led her into a small consultation room near administration. The door shut softly, too softly. The taller agent spoke first. "For the record, this conversation is voluntary." Ava folded her hands in her lap. "Then you can tell me why the FBI is standing in a hospital because a nurse did her job." The shorter agent finally looked up from the tablet. "You didn't do your job. You did someone else's." Ava said nothing. He turned the screen so she could see it. A list of timestamps, procedures, decisions, all logged. "Chest decompression without physician authorization," he continued. "Field-style triage prioritization, non-standard airway management, combat transfusion sequencing." Dr. Klein would have recognized some of it. Surgeons with decades of experience might have recognized all of it. A rookie nurse shouldn't have recognized any of it. The taller agent leaned back slightly. You perform like someone who's done this before somewhere else. Ava met his gaze. People learn. Not like that, he replied. Silence stretched. Ava could feel it pulling, waiting for her to feel it. She didn't. The agent tapped the tablet again. Your file triggered an alert. Not today. The moment your name was entered into the trauma log, Ava's pulse quickened. Just barely. There's a discrepancy, he continued. Your nursing license is valid. Your employment history checks out, but there's a gap. A large one. The shorter agent finally spoke again. 5 years that don't exist. Dr. Klein burst through the door without knocking. This is insane, he snapped. If you're implying misconduct, we're implying inconsistency, the taller agent said calmly. Doctor, we ran her name through federal databases. We don't do that for fun. Ava's jaw tightened. The shorter agent swiped again. A second file appeared. He didn't turn the screen this time. Your name appears somewhere it shouldn't, he said. And in a way that shouldn't be possible. Ava exhaled slowly through her nose. Then you should already know this conversation won't go where you think it will. The taller agent raised an eyebrow. Meaning. Ava said evenly that if you're here to accuse me of something, you're late. And if you're here to protect something, you're early. That got his attention. The shorter agent finally stood. Do you recognize the term Operation Black Crest? The room felt smaller. Ava didn't answer. Dr. Klein looked between them. What is that? The taller agent answered without looking at him. A classified operation in Afghanistan. Officially failed. Officially unreoverable. And unofficially Klein pressed. The shorter agent turned the tablet again. This time the image was a redacted report. Names blacked out. Photos blurred. One section wasn't Ava's, not the Ava the hospital knew. Not the nurse in blue scrubs. A different name. A different designation and a status stamped across the page in bold, unforgiving letters. Kiar, presumed. Dr. Klein staggered back like he'd been struck. That's not possible. The taller agent finally looked at Ava again. That's what we thought until 7 people lived when they shouldn't have. The door opened again. Hospital administration crowded the hallway now. Whispers rippled. Phones buzzed. Word spread faster than facts ever did. Ava stood slowly. You're not arresting me, she said. You're confirming something. The shorter agent nodded once. We reconfirming that someone listed as dead just reappeared in a civilian trauma center and saved 7 lives using techniques taught to exactly one kind of medic. Dr. Klein found his voice. She's a nurse. A damn good one. No, the taller agent said quietly. She's pretending to be one. That was the moment Ava finally spoke the truth aloud. Not to them, but to the room. I didn't disappear because I wanted to, she said. I disappeared because it was the only way to survive. The agents didn't interrupt. My unit was declared lost, wiped from the record, every name marked dead. That was the deal. We walked away or none of us did. Dr. Klein stared at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Unit. The shorter agent answered for her. Special Operations Medical Detachment Navy. The word landed hard. And you? Klein whispered. Ava met his eyes. I kept people alive when there were no hospitals. Silence again. The taller agent closed the tablet. Your reappearance triggered alerts, not just ours. Ava's stomach tightened. Who else? Anyone who still cares about what your unit knew, he said. And what you were trained to do. Outside the room, a nurse poked her head in. The patients, she said quietly. They're all stable. Families are asking who saved them. Ava looked at the agents. You got what you needed? Not yet, the shorter one replied. But we will. As they moved to leave, the taller agent paused at the door. You should know something, he said over his shoulder. Saving 7 lives in an hour wasn't what caught our attention. Ava's eyes narrowed. Then what did? He turned back, expression unreadable. The fact that you did it like you never stopped. The door closed behind them. Ava remained standing in the middle of the room. Blue scrubs, blood stains, and a past that had just come back online. And somewhere deep inside her, the clock started ticking again. If this part made you feel conflicted, unsettled, or unsure who was right, comment, never judge. The hospital didn't return to normal after the FBI left. It pretended to. Monitors kept beeping. Stretchers rolled. Families whispered prayers in waiting rooms, but every conversation stopped when Ava passed by. Blue scrub still stained, posture straight, eyes forward. People looked at her the way you look at something familiar that suddenly feels dangerous. Dr. Klein caught up to her near the supply room. "You should have told me," he said quietly. "Told you what?" Ava replied without slowing. "That you weren't just," he hesitated. This Ava stopped, turned. For a moment, the mask slipped. Not fear. Something heavier. "I was exactly this," she said. "I just used to do it somewhere else." The hospital administration didn't wait long. By noon, Ava was called into a conference room she'd never been important enough to sit in before. The director, legal counsel, HR, and two unfamiliar men who didn't introduce themselves. "We need to understand the risk," the director said carefully. "Your presence here, your history, my history saved 7 people," Ava replied. "In 1 hour while your surgeon was stuck on the highway." "That's not in dispute," legal said quickly. "What's in dispute is liability." Ava almost smiled. Almost. One of the unfamiliar men leaned forward. "You were trained under classified conditions," he said. "Your skills aren't civilian. They're military assets." Ava met his gaze. "I'm not an asset. You were," he corrected. The words lingered longer than they should have. Outside the conference room, the waiting area buzzed. Families had learned her name. A woman clutched Ava's hand through tears, whispering, "Thank you for a son who was breathing because of her." A man tried to hug her before a nurse gently pulled him back. Ava accepted none of it. She didn't deflect either. She stood there, steady, absorbing gratitude like she'd once absorbed screams. Dr. Klein watched from across the hall, realization dawning piece by piece. The way she moved, the way she prioritized, the way she never once looked relieved. This wasn't heroism. It was muscle memory. By mid-afternoon, the FBI returned. Not the same 2 agents. These were different expressions, less curious, more alert. "We need to talk," one said. Ava nodded again. They led her not to an office this time, but to a secure wing near records. The doors locked behind them with a sound that felt final. "We cross-checked," the agent said. "Your unit." Ava leaned against the wall, and they weren't wiped out. Her eyes flickered just once. "They were declared dead," he continued. "On paper, but no remains, no confirmations, no follow-up." "That was the point," Ava said. "Where are they now?" She didn't answer. The second agent stepped in. "You don't understand. This isn't about your past. It's about why that past was buried so deep it took 7 near miracles to dig it up." Ava closed her eyes for half a second. "They're alive." The agent pressed. "Aren't they?" Ava opened her eyes. "Yes." Silence slammed into the room. "And you were the best." He continued quieter now. "The best combat surgeon in the unit." "That's not true," Ava said. "I was the fastest." The distinction mattered more than they knew. The first agent rubbed his jaw. "Your techniques today matched after action reports from Afghanistan. Field surgery under fire. Improvised stabilization. Decisions made with no backup and no margin for error." Ava's voice dropped. "Because there was never backup." The agent nodded slowly. "Your unit went dark after a classified operation failed. Failed on paper," Ava corrected. "We completed it. The fallout was the failure." Meaning people in power didn't like what we saw," Ava said, "or what we refused to unsee." Another silence, heavier. "You resurfacing here triggered alerts across multiple systems," the agent said. "Not just ours." Ava straightened. Who else? He didn't answer immediately. That's what worries us. Across the hospital, a cold blue echoed. A reflex fired in Ava's body before her mind caught up. She took one step toward the door. Stay, the agent ordered. Ava stopped slowly. Pain flickered across her face. Not physical, something older. Someone else will handle it, he added. Ava turned back. That's what they said back then too. The agent frowned. Back when? When seconds mattered and permission got people killed, the second agent cleared his throat. There's another problem. Ava waited. The mission your unit was on. He said. The one that got you erased? Yes, the people you extracted weren't just targets. Ava's jaw tightened. They were witnesses. The agent nodded. High-level ones. Intelligence that could have unraveled a lot. And did it? Ava asked. He hesitated. Some of it. Ava laughed once. It was sharp, humorless. Then they never stopped looking. Looking for who? The agent asked. For us, she replied, or proof we existed. The agent exhaled slowly. Today gave them proof. Outside, hospital security tightened. Unmarked vehicles appeared in the parking lot. Phones rang behind closed doors. Ava felt it. The shift. The tightening net. The familiar sense that staying visible was no longer safe. What happens now? She asked. The agent met her eyes. That depends on who gets to you first. The door opened. Dr. Klein stood there pale. The seventh patient, he said. The one from Trauma Bay 3. What about him? Ava asked. He woke up, Klein said. And he's asking for you. By name. Ava's stomach dropped. The agent looked at Klein. How would he know her name? Klein swallowed. That's what I was hoping you'd explain. They walked together down the corridor. Nurses parted instinctively. The room fell quiet as they entered. The patient lay propped up, bandaged, alive. Very alive. His eyes opened wider when he saw Ava. Doc, he rasped. Didn't think I'd see you again? Ava froze. The agent stiffened. You know him? One asked sharply. The man coughed. Know her? She kept half of us breathing in Kandahar. The room tilted. Ava closed her eyes. The agent's voice dropped. You said your unit was hidden. Ava looked at the man on the bed, then at the agents. I said we were erased, she replied, not forgotten. The patient smiled weakly. Guess that clock you mentioned, he said to Ava. It's ticking again. And before anyone could ask what that meant, alarms began sounding down the hall. Not medical ones, but security. Ava turned toward the noise already moving. Because she knew that sound, and it never came for nothing. The security alarms weren't loud at first. They started as a low pulsing tone, the kind most people mistake for a system test. But Ava didn't. Her body reacted before her mind caught up. Muscles tightening, breath slowing, eyes already scanning exits, corners, reflections in glass. That sound meant perimeter breach. Not medical, not accidental, real. Lock down? Dr. Klein asked, voiced tight. The FBI agents were already moving, hands brushing jackets, eyes sharp. One of them spoke into a concealed mic, voice low and clipped. Confirm source. North entrance, parking structure, level 2. Ava didn't wait for instructions. She turned and moved toward the nurse's station, grabbing a radio from the counter like it belonged to her. I see you and trauma patients from this morning, she said calmly into the mic. Move them different wings now, a nurse blinked. We didn't get now, Ava repeated. No volume, no panic, just authority. And somehow they listened. Dr. Klein watched. It happened. Realization finally settling in. This wasn't a nurse stepping out of her lane. This was someone stepping back into one she left behind. The agent closest to her caught up. You're not clear till they're not here for me, Ava cut in. They're here because of what those patients know. The agent frowned. You don't know that. Ava stopped walking and faced him fully. I do. Another voice crackled over the radio. Unidentified personnel bypassing security. Moving with purpose, Ava's jaw tightened. How many? Unknown. That was the worst answer. They reached the ICU. Nurses were already moving beds, 4 poles rattling, families confused and scared. Ava moved between them, guiding hands, redirecting paths, placing guards where they mattered most. A mother clutched her arm. What's happening? Ava met her eyes steady and warm. You're safe. Stay with your son. Keep him talking. The woman nodded, comforted by confidence she didn't know was earned under fire. The FBI agents spread out, weapons still concealed, but ready. Dr. Klein hovered near Ava, torn between fear and awe. You said you disappeared, he said quietly. You could have stayed gone. Ava didn't look at him. So could they. A sharp shout echoed from down the hall. A scuffle, then silence. Too fast. Ava swore under her breath. They're not here to negotiate. The agent turned. You recognize the tactics? Yes, Ava said, because I taught some of them. The words hung in the air like a dropped scalpel. Before anyone could respond, a man stepped into the corridor ahead of them. Plain clothes, no visible weapon, calm smile. Too calm. Ava, he said like they were meeting for coffee. You always did move fast. Her blood went cold. Stay back, the agent ordered, hand finally drawing his weapon. The man raised his hand slightly, mock surrender. Relax. If I wanted this loud, you'd already know. Ava stared at him. You weren't supposed to find me. He smiled wider. You saved 7 people in an hour. You lit up every system we buried you under. Dr. Klein whispered. Do you know him? Yes, Ava said. He's the reason we went dark. The man tilted his head. That hurts. You left us, she shot back. Declared us dead to clean up your mess. I protected you, he replied. The alternative was prison or worse. Not for you, Ava said. The FBI agent stepped between them. Sir, identify yourself. The man produced credentials that made the agent's posture stiffen instantly. Internal, the man said lightly. Above your pay grade, Ava laughed bitter, still hiding behind acronyms, he shrugged. Still saving lives in impossible situations. The monitors in a nearby room beeped faster. One of the morning patients was crashing. Ava turned on instinct. Don't, the man warned softly. That's how this starts again. She ignored him and rushed into the room. The patient's vitals were dropping fast, complications stacking. A nurse looked up, panicked. We're losing him. Ava was already gloved. No, we're not. Her hands moved, confident, precise. The room seemed to shrink to just her and the patient like it always had. Clamp, adjust, breathe. The line steadied. She exhaled. When she turned back, the man was watching her like a proud teacher. See, he said, you never stopped. Ava ripped off her gloves. I stopped because you made me choose between truth and survival. And today, he asked, you chose truth. No, Ava said. I chose people. The FBI agent stepped forward. This ends now, the man smiled. Does his sirens wailed outside? Real ones this time. Local police, federal backup. Eyes turned toward the windows. The man sighed. You always did ruin clean exits. He looked at Ava one last time. You could come back. We could fix what broke. Ava shook her head. It was never broken, just wrong. He studied her, then nodded once. Then this is where I let go. He turned and walked back the way he came, disappearing into the chaos as reinforcements flooded the floor. The tension broke like a held breath finally released. Dr. Klein leaned against the wall, shaking. Who are you? Ava looked down at her scrubs, the blood, the name badge. I'm a nurse, she said. And I used to be a lot of things I don't want to be anymore. The FBI agent approached, expression changed. Less suspicion now, more respect. We can bury this again, he said. If you want, Ava considered it. The silence, the safety of being underestimated. Then she looked through the glass at the patients, the families, the lives she touched without hiding. No, she said quietly. I'm done disappearing. Hours later, the hospital settled. 7 patients stabilized. No further breaches, no arrests announced, no headlines written, just rumors. Dr. Klang found Ava in the break room as dawn light crept through the windows. Administration wants to talk. Let them wait, Ava said, sipping cold coffee. They're not firing you, he said. They're promoting you. She raised an eyebrow. Trauma coordinator, he continued. Special cases training. They want what you know. Ava stared into her cup. Do they know what they're asking? He smiled faintly. I think they're starting to. The sun rose fully by the time Ava walked back through the trauma bay. Nurses nodded at her now. Doctors stepped aside, not out of fear, out of trust. She stopped at the 7th patient's room. He was awake, smiling. Told you, he rasped. You can't outrun who you are. Ava smiled back. I'm not running anymore. She stepped out into the hall, finally letting the exhaustion hit. But it felt different now, lighter, because for the first time, she wasn't hiding her hands. If you stayed with this story to the end, it means something about quiet strength, second chances, and unseen heroes resonates with you. These stories take time, heart, and everything I have to write. If you believe people like Ava deserve to be seen, please subscribe. It genuinely helps more than you know, and it's the only way stories like this keep getting.